Anyway, it's confession time. If you have a top confession, we would love to exchange it for a smart speaker. First up, what we have to do is to roll in the drinks trolley.
Oh, here it comes.
Because I think it's got to that time of the day. The sun's over the yard. What are you offering us from the drinks trolley today?
Well, I thought a very nice glass of red might be nice.
Okay.
I had one yesterday which was called Flora and Fauna, which was a mix of Merlot and Grenache, and it was very tasty with my dinner last night, so I thought, why not share?
Okay, that's very good. Thank you. What's that called again?
It was Flora and Fauna.
Flora and Fauna. Half a pint.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Today's confession comes from Simon in Plymouth. Father Simon, Brother Matt, and the ever-forgiving collective, and my regards to the drinks trolley. Right, that's the first time the drinks trolley has had a mention. This Easter I was reminded of something I did over 40 years ago and is on my conscience even, and I really do need to confess this. And this may well be a scene that has been replicated up and down the country over the last few days. It's the early 80s, and I was just 9 years old and living with my mum, stepfather and stepbrother. Easter was coming and my mother arrived home from a shopping trip with a clutch of yummy-looking Easter eggs. Wow, I said, are they all for me? No, she says, somewhat aghast. You can keep your hands off till Easter. Right, okay. That seems to be that they are for me, but not until Easter. Mum clocked the look of mischief in my eye and immediately grabbed them and put them on top of her wardrobe where they were totally out of reach. I mean, there's ladders and so on, but anyway, they're out of reach. Yeah. All hopes of some early chocolate thoroughly thwarted, I carried on with my week. Towards the end of the week, I ran up the stairs to my bedroom and I heard noises coming from my mum's bedroom. Not those kind of noises, though. It was my step-brother. Mm-hmm. He had spotted the stash of Easter eggs, and being much older than me, 19, and more importantly, much taller than me, he had successfully reached them and was chomping into the dark chocolate Easter egg, which was his. Wow, I said, Mum's going to be so mad with you. I'm going to tell her right now. Classic brother discourse.
Yeah.
To which my brother said, hang on a second, don't you want some chocolate too? But she's going to find out, I said. He shook his head knowingly, and I watched as he reached up on tiptoes and grabbed an egg. He carefully opened the cardboard, slid out the egg, a milk chocolate egg, with meticulous precision, and not breaking a single piece of the chocolate, he split it in half and gave me half. He then took the remaining half, rewrapped it, and placed it back in the cardboard box, popped it back on top of the wardrobe. It looked perfect. Looked like it hadn't been touched. It was amazing.
Wow.
Elder brothers, huh? You would never have known. I happily munched on the delicious milk chocolate egg half. I ate all of it. Day before Easter came and Mum reached up for the tampered egg, waiting for her to notice that she turned around and said, okay, get yourself ready. We're off to Mary and John's. She was my mum's friend and her son, a rather portly lad that could have done without any more chocolate, thank you very much indeed. Okay. And he thought he was better than everyone else.
Right.
And he was a proper mummy's boy as well.
Okay, I think we know where this is going. Go on.
But why did she have that egg in her hands? I asked her, she said, oh, this is for John. Your eggs are waiting for you downstairs. No. So all the journey there, I'm trying to come up with something to explain why the egg is only half full. We arrived at the house and had the usual hellos and the ruffling of hair. And then he appeared like Dudley Dursley in Harry Potter in all his glory, sporting already a chocolate-smeared blazer and a can of pop in his chubby fingers.
Okay.
Wow.
Mum handed him the egg and grabbed it. He grabbed it and started to unwrap it. Hang on, said his mum, you haven't had your tea yet. Phew, I thought, saved by sausage, beans and potato waffles. Then, catastrophe. Here! He exclaimed. In his greediness, he thought he'd discovered my crumb. Half of this egg has gone! Half of it has gone, look! Half of it has gone, half.
Half, yeah.
My mum looked at me and I thought, OK, here we go. Was this you? She yells, then almost immediately carried on. No, it can't be, because it was on top of the wardrobe. Must have been your brother. He's so much taller than you, being 19. But no, he doesn't like milk chocolate. So how can this have happened? Right, she said, I'm going back to the store. They can't sell me half an Easter egg. She grabbed my hand and we said a quick goodbye and we were off. As soon as she walked into the store, she grabbed a rather alarmed-looking shop worker, ranting about faulty goods and how she knew her human rights. I sheepishly hid behind her, praying for it all to be over. The manager even came out, recognised her from a previous cauliflower episode, another story we don't speak of, and said, "Oh, just give her what she wants." And then he scurried back to his office like the coward that he was. We were furnished with 2 eggs for the inconvenience, and we went on our way. Mum thoroughly pleased with herself, and another battle against the man and corporate greed was won. Ha ha ha. John got his complete egg, and I was gifted the other one for being so good. And yes, the guilt was extreme. It did taint the egg, but I did consume it nonetheless. Father Simon, I do need to ask for forgiveness from the store worker, excuse me, and from Mum for all the hassle, as it was me who ate half the egg. But in my defence, it was all my stepbrother's fault. Isn't it always? I think that's what we learned from drama and from history. I throw myself on your mercy and pray for forgiveness. I think it's blame the stepmother, stepfather, stepbrother,
I see. Yeah, that bit of history.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sister Susie speaking with a voice of authority.
Well, Simon, very, very clever. You know, not the thing I can't get over is not breaking the egg when you're going to break it in half, because every time I've tried to do it, they just split into tiny, tiny bits, and I would never have got away with that.
Brother, yeah.
That did it, yeah. He must have done it many times before, and he was very good at it. Do you know what? I wish I had the guts to do this when I was younger, because I think everyone's thought similar things. However, I think you're a bit mean to John and his big grubby fingers, so I don't think I'm going to forgive you on this occasion.
Chocolate smeared blazer.
Oh, John and his big grubby fingers.
Brother from another
dear. I've got to applaud the elder son with the being able to not only reassemble the egg to make it look like no one, but then to spread this lie that everyone believes that he doesn't like milk chocolate. Everyone likes milk chocolate, and he's managed to convince everyone that he doesn't like milk chocolate, and therefore it couldn't possibly be him to have eaten any of the milk chocolate. So well done to him. And also the shop comes out this well. What amazing customer service. They're giving you 2 eggs when you come back with half an egg. Wish I knew the name of the shop. Anyway, everyone came out of that excellently. So for that reason, I'm gonna forgive.
Terrible.
That was from day one. I was going to bring in an excellent gag in there.
Dear.
Okay, so it's the people's verdict, please. Ignore the pun. Do you forgive Simon in Plymouth? On the text, please. We would like to hear from you. 61054. Start your message with Simon. Just before the news, a while back, we had a confession from Simon in Plymouth, all about Easter eggs and how Dudley Dursley had gone all crazy because he'd lost half an egg, and so Simon's mum went crazy. Poor shop worker got it in the neck, but she knew her human rights, so everything was fine. What did the people say?
They said forgiven, mainly. Paula in Margate says, not breaking the egg is a superpower, surely. Hilarious confession. Daniel in Wolverhampton says, forgiven. I used to do a similar trick with my sister's Easter eggs, only eating the little bags of Smarties that lived inside them. By the way, chocolate eggs were better built in those days and could be separated without imploding into a shower of ultra-thin pretense.
Yes.
And finally, Nick in Essex says, forgiven. I agree with Matt. They are all exonerated.
Just do that final line from the second one, which I talked over, and therefore spoilt the joke.
Okay. Chocolate eggs better built in those days, could be separated without imploding into a shower of ultra-thin pretense.
Ultra-thin pretense.
Seen them live.
Sounds pretty good, I think. If you have a confession, send it to us. confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. That's
how did that get on?
It's just how he signs it. That's all I'm saying. There comes the drinks trolley has arrived because it's that time of day, and hopefully Sister Susie has selected something rather splendid. What have you chosen today?
Well, the sun's come out, so I thought, why not have a Tom Collins cocktail, which is gin, lemon, sugar syrup, and then soda water. So a nice, tall, long, refreshing drink.
Called Tom Collins.
Yeah.
Called a Tom Collins,
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. Today's confession comes from Marmaduke, not my real name.
Mm-hmm.
Father Simon, the Confessional Collective, it is with a heavy heart, but reverent embarrassment that after over 20 years of shame, I now ask for forgiveness from the collective for my sins. I take you back to June 1993, when I was the proud father of a newborn son, Walter, not his real name, 8 weeks old. He was on show for the first time at a large gathering, that of the school sports day for the infant and junior school, where his 3 sisters, Natalie, Stephanie and Clara Bella, not their real names.
Oh, changed them as well, have we?
Yes, right. They were attending.
Yep.
School sports days bring out the best and worst in everything. The weather, either really sunny and too hot for the children, or overcast and rainy so that the event is cancelled, or indeed with family members. The best turn up with the sole intent of cheering on everyone, be they sporty children or those children who don't wish to participate but are forced to by teachers to take part in the sack race, and the worst parents who turn up with a win at all costs attitude. One little girl benefited year on year from her cheating competitive mother, who was always a judge and no matter what, in close races would ensure that her child won. There could be clear daylight between the real winner and her daughter, but the winner's sash always went to her daughter. The father of this little girl was also unsurprisingly competitive, and for 3 years running had turned up in his official Amateur Athletics Association running vest and, worse, his silk running shorts. On one occasion, he donned a pair of running spikes, which he was asked not to wear ever again. He would do 30 minutes of trackside warming-up exercises while the school children were racing. When the parents' 100 metres was announced, Linford, as we called him, would jog to the start line and each year blast out of the blocks, leaving several aged dads in trainers and suits in his wake. His wife and daughter would be at the winning line, mother holding not one but 2 stopwatches. Upon winning, he would ask his wife and daughter whether he'd beaten his all-comers record time of 11.2 seconds. I mean, that's fast, before beginning his warming down exercises. On this particular occasion, parents were called to the start line, and Linford crouched low in his sprinter's stance. As the gun went off, he surged into what would have been an unassailable lead if it had not been for me and another like-minded father. We were positioned either side of him and both stepped across his path. Both being ex-rugby players, adept at the now illegal shoulder charge tackle, we took him out, one going high, the other one going low, in what we hoped looked like an accidental coming together. Down he went in a heap of legs and arms entwined with me and my conspirator friend as he tried manfully to regain his feet and get back into the race, which he could still easily win. I grabbed at his silky shorts to prevent him chasing off after the aged pack of suit-wearing fathers. Down he went again with an anguished wail of despair sounding like a wounded animal. Excuse me. As he got to his feet, he witnessed a grey-haired grandfather crossing the line in an astonishing 17 seconds. The first new winner of the event for 3 years. Linford's wife and daughter were watching from the finishing line, open-mouthed, tears in their eyes, waiting for his speedy arrival, and instead witnessed a broken man. My co-conspirator and I apologised to Linford and suggested maybe he could make amends to his daughter by winning the mixed group egg and spoon race later. To our surprise, he took us up on the offer and arrived at the start line, silky shorts and running vest shining again in the sunlight. He chose his egg and spoon, the eggs being potatoes, so they could be picked up when dropped. He set off at a startling pace down the track, however, dropped his egg on several occasions, whilst I, running smoothly and without dropping my egg, swept past him and across the line to win the prize. A double whammy for Linford. He fell over in the 100 metres and failed to win the egg and spoon race. Do I ask the collective for forgiveness for taking him out with my shoulder? No. Do I ask forgiveness for pulling him down when he tried to get to his feet? No. Do I ask forgiveness for causing his wife and daughter distress? No, he deserved everything he got. I do, however, ask the collective for your forgiveness because I cheated in winning the egg and spoon race. I jammed the handle of the spoon into the egg, which was a potato, so that it could not fall off no matter how fast I ran. Getting to the end and falling over the line whilst removing the potato from the handle and taking the winner's sash. Ta-da! That's what I ask forgiveness for, winning by means of the inappropriate use of a spoon handle. Lots of love from Marmaduke. Not my real name. To no one's great surprise, now in my mid-late 60s and remembering every single moment. Every parent listening will have experienced the horrors of the parents' race at the sports day. We're getting quite early with sports day confessions, but anyway, Sister Susie from the pub.
Well, Marmaduke, do you know what? We could have had a slightly different confession when you were grabbing at those silky shorts. It was quite worrying there. However, I feel like Linford did deserve what he had come into him, because he just didn't sound like a very nice person, did he? Just no one likes that person. I'm not a sporty person, so I think I'm on your side, Marmaduke. Can I forgive you for sticking the spoon in the potato though, because that is just cheating, isn't it? Oh, it's a tricky one, but I'm feeling generous, so go on, I'll forgive you.
Okay, brother from another guy.
You've got to admire Linford's commitment in deciding to do warming up as well. Not only am I going to turn up in spikes and my top and my silky shorts, I'm going to do my warming up and warming down. Yeah, absolutely. It felt like grabbing his shorts was a step too far. I mean, you can shoulder barge, but grabbing his shorts, dear oh dear. But I'm going to forgive, because obviously none of us are particularly liking Linford or his wife or his daughter, who was getting everything handed to her on a plate. And do we blame him for, sticking the spoon in the potato? Well, if the school aren't going to provide eggs, this is what's going to happen. So it's the system. Once again, it's the system that is to blame. And for that reason, jog on, Linford, I am going to forgive.
Okay, do you forgive Marmaduke, yes or no? On the text, please, 61054, first word is Simon. Before the news, a confession from Marmaduke. A tale about Linford, an overly competitive dad who at Sports Day parents' race got taken out by Marmaduke and a rugby-playing friend, and a grandpa won instead in 17 seconds. Marmaduke cheated later at the egg and spoon race. The people's verdict is in. What do they say?
So everyone is forgiving tonight. Oh, Marmaduke, you are forgiven, says Drix. I wish I had your guts. We've got a mum like that in our school who thinks nothing of threatening legal action against any child who upsets her girls. Oh, how I wish I could do something like that to her. 1,000,000% forgiven, Marmaduke, says Juliet. A multitude of those parents would have been inwardly cheering you on all the way. Plus, it just made me laugh. And Marmaduke is totally forgiven, says Ruth. I also won a race at Sports Day by slightly cheating. I had my sunglasses placed on top of the beanbag on my head for the duration of the race. So, yes, I'll buy that man a beer for taking out smug Linford. As usual, Matt is completely correct.
Incredible how that one just slipped through.
How did that get through?
You might have a confession. If we use it, you get a smart speaker out of us. You send it to confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. It is Hits Radio playing Talking Heads, and time for something from the drinks trolley, which we just need a little bit of refreshment before it's confession time. What are you snatching from the trolley today, Sister Susie?
Snatching a Perry from Seven Cider. It's quite punchy, 5.4%. And kind of medium sparkling.
A medium sparkler for Thursday. All right, very good. Have you had many?
Already?
Yes.
Never.
No, I don't think so. We got a confession today from Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Father Simon and the Charitable Collective of Clemency. I seek absolution for my late, dearly departed father, William, known as Bill, a man who served his king, queen and country for over 40 years. I'm sure your forgiveness will go some way to ensure he gets a plump cloud pillow to rest his weary head. Confused theology here, but anyway, carry on. Reader's note, there will be a requirement for 1950s Edinburgh accents and an Edith Evans voice from the 1952 film The Importance of Being Earnest.
Even better.
I know that Father Simon will hit the mark with both of these.
Yes.
I'm not going anywhere near a 1950s Edinburgh accent.
Oh, really?
After my father's national service, he was looking for a new role. One that would fully utilise his newfound sense of pride in a uniform, a position many people would turn to for help and advice. One where he could take on the burden of the many and help with their journey in life. He became a railway porter at Edinburgh's Waverley Station, a grand station in the 1950s full of steam and passengers travelling the length and breadth of post-war Britain. Now, I know many of your listeners will not know what a railway porter is or did at the time, but they did vital work in the days of steam. Anyone who knows Waverley will be familiar with the two ramps in and out of the station, sadly all but closed off these days. But in the heyday of the 50s, this was a busy thoroughfare with taxis driving in with passengers, porters greeting them with their trolleys and whisking them off to the platform to catch their train. This work was done for a small wage and tips, so the wealthy and the celebrities were always the ideal passengers to help. On the day in question, it was close to 1 o'clock and the departure of the express train to London, when a taxi raced in with a driver wildly gesticulating to my father. He rushed over to be told that his passenger, an elderly lady, had a ticket for a 1 o'clock train to London, a train she had to catch as she had an important appointment in London to get to. Not a problem, my dad said, sounding reminiscent of a young Sean Connery.
Oh, here we go.
Go on.
Yeah.
The London train is on platform 1, waiting to go. I'm not going to go there. But it'll be a close-run thing to get there, says my dad. Quickly piling all of the ladies' bags onto his trolley, my dad moved like a gazelle among the busy thoroughfare, dodging other porters and passengers through the steam of the stationary trains. Up to first class, swung the door open and loaded the ladies' luggage into the compartment and helped her board the train. Thank you, young man. You are an angel and have saved the day.
Well, you can do that.
Thank you. Then she thrust a note into his hand. The conductor waved his flag, blew his whistle, and the train departed in a huge flurry of steam and hissing as it pulled out of the station. On looking down at his hand, my father discovered it was a 10-shilling note.
Oh.
Truly a king's ransom back in the day. With a handsome reward in his hand, my dad thought he'd earned a break and went to the porter's break room, where all the old sweats were seated, reading the paper, smoking their pipes and cleaning their boots. They all looked up and saw my dad looking very pleased with himself and holding a monetary note of some stature. "What have you got there, laddie?" said the head porter, obviously not in the voice.
No.
"I've got a 10-shilling tip from an old lady I just put on a train at platform 1.
Oh, really?
So suddenly we're in the Wild West. Okay.
This is when the rest of the porters stopped talking, lowered their newspapers, stopped shining their boots, and took their pipes out of their mouths.
Okay.
Little poetic license. The head porter tilted his head to one side and said, "Laddie, the London train was not on platform 1. It was, said my dad. I saw it there and I put the old lady on it just before it left at 1 o'clock. What happened next haunted my dad until his dying day. The head porter stood up, walked over to my dad, took the 10-shilling note from his hand, looked at it, held it up to the light, and then handed it back, saying, 'Don't spend it all at once, laddie, just in case. If you bother to read the notice board, you'll see that because of engineering works at Berwick, the 1 o'clock London was moved to platform 18. Oh no, said my dad. What have I done? The head porter looked right at him and said, "Laddie, if I'm not mistaken, that old lady is on the non-stop train to Aberdeen." Obviously, if I could do the accents, everything would be so much better, but I can't. Fortunately for all the rail passengers in the 1950s, my dad decided to join up and re-enlisted in the army in 1955 and served for 22 years before returning to Civvy Street. I would like to seek eternal forgiveness for my dad from the old lady who found herself on the non-stop to Aberdeen and probably didn't realise until she was trundling across the Forth Bridge. And from the entire workforce at the British Railways, I fear the old lady may have been related to Dr. Beeching, and his cuts to the railways in the 60s meant that 13,000 miles of railways were lost and closed, and that might have been revenge and retribution for what happened that day in 1953. I mean, again, I think you're taking historical license. Yours in admiration and hope, Jeff, not his real name, obviously, although we have used his dad's real name, so anyway.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, right.
Anyway, Sister Susie, what do you say to Jeff?
Well, Jeff, do you know what a picture you painted? And do you know what? there's nothing that makes me more nervous than getting on the wrong train. I have done it once before.
Me too.
And luckily, both the trains stopped at the first stop together, so I just got off that one and then I got on mine. Smooth. 2 minutes later. No one knew that I'd made the mistake. So for that reason, I feel like just because I've done it myself, I have to forgive you.
A very evocative confession.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah. There was steam everywhere.
And hissing. What do you say?
Pipes. Loving it. It was a gorgeous journey, isn't it? From Edinburgh up to Aberdeen on the train.
Not if you want to go south to London.
She will have enjoyed it all the same. Probably better than going to London, I would have said. So everyone wins out of this. And actually, you know, if you want to catch the train on time, get to the station on time. So actually, it's her fault for turning up late. For that reason,
yes,
I'm going to forgive Bill and therefore Jeff.
Jeff also suggests that she could have done a Robert Donat 39 steps.
Of course.
Pulled the emergency cord and jumped from the train.
Yes, over the bridge. Yes.
Anyway, it's the people's verdict. Please, do you forgive Jeff, not his real name, or not, for his... I mean, it's on behalf of his father. So, I'm sure people will be generous. 61054. First word is Simon. Forgiveness or no for today's Waverley Station confession. Entirely down to you. 61054. a confession from, well, it was about Jeff's dad, who in 1953 was a railway porter at Waverley Station in Edinburgh, and he thought he was putting a smart woman on the train to London, the 1 o'clock express out of Waverley. Instead, he put her on the non-stop to Aberdeen, unless she jumped off like they do in 39 Steps. So we're kind of saying, is Jeff's dad forgiven, yes or no? What do we get then, Matt?
So forgiven, says Adam in Lichfield. It was an honest mistake, and maybe the lady should have done a better job of keeping track of the time. Forgiven, says Thomas, who appears to know the station very well. If she pleaded her case, says Thomas, she could have had the train stop at Haymarket, the next northbound station, and the porter would easily be confused, as Platform 1 and Platform 18 are at the either end of the same platform. But not forgiven, says Sean from Wellingborough, because Simon failed to do the accents. I was dying to hear those. Great confession, though.
It would have been patronising, and I don't think that's a very, very good idea. Okay, so, but I could do Edith Evans, obviously. Yes. If you have a confession, please send it to confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk, and if we use it, we'll exchange it for a smart speaker. That's the way it goes.